In the torchlit halls of Phrygia, where shadows stretched long like grasping fingers across marble floors, King Midas paced beneath flickering flames. His footsteps echoed through corridors carved by forgotten hands, each step heavy with the weight of unspoken longing. Outside, storm-dark skies churned over the sacred groves, as if the gods themselves withheld their gaze from the mortal realm below. Midas was no ordinary ruler. Crowned in the ancient city of Gordion, he ruled a kingdom nestled between jagged mountains and whispering rivers, where gold flowed not from mines alone, but from the earth's jealous heart. Legends spoke of his rise, a boy who tended vineyards, elevated by divine favor to a throne of ambition. Yet ambition festered into avarice, a hunger that no hoard could sate. In silent ruins beyond the palace walls, he dreamed of riches that would eclipse the sun. One fateful dawn, as mist clung to the hills like a shroud, Dionysus, the wild god of wine and revelry, wandered the mortal lands in disguise. His companion, the satyr Silenus, had strayed, lost in a haze of excess, stumbling into Midas's rose gardens. The king's servants found the befuddled figure, crowned with ivy and reeking of fermented grapes, and brought him before the throne. Midas recognized the mark of the divine. With calculated hospitality, he feasted Silenus for 10 days in torchlit chambers, plying him with nectar and tales of heroic deeds. When Dionysus appeared, radiant amid thunderous skies, gratitude burned in his eyes. "Name your reward, mortal king," the god intoned, his voice like wind through sacred groves. Midas hesitated only a moment, his mind ablaze with visions of endless wealth. "Grant me the golden touch," he declared, "that all I touch may turn to gold." Dionysus's smile twisted like vines in shadow, a warning veiled in benevolence. The gift was bestowed, a power irreversible, binding as fate. At first, ecstasy reigned. Midas rushed to his vaults, fingers brushing goblets, pillars, tapestries. Gold cascaded in gleaming waves, piling higher than any Phrygian tomb. Chairs solidified into ingots, vines on the walls hardened to luminous coils. The king laughed, his voice booming through echoing corridors, as servants marveled at the miracle. But as the sun dipped low, casting long shadows over the palace, a subtle chill seeped into the air. The first threads of consequence began to weave their snare. As twilight bled into the storm-dark skies, King Midas retreated to his banquet hall, where torchlit corridors flickered with the promise of triumph. Servants had arrayed a feast fit for gods, roasted pheasant glistening with honey, loaves of bread still warm from the ovens, flagons of wine shimmering like captured starlight. The air hummed with anticipation, heavy with the scent of thyme and crackling fires. Midas extended his hand, fingers grazing a pewter plate. Instantly it transmuted, cold, unyielding gold, its surface reflecting his exultant grin like a merciless mirror. He reached for the bread next, tearing at its crust with greedy delight. But the loaf hardened mid-bite, crumbling into metallic dust upon his tongue. Wine followed, spilling from the goblet in golden rivulets that pooled uselessly on the table, defying thirst. Hunger gnawed at the king's core, a primal ache that no treasure could quell. Servants whispered in the lengthening shadows, their footsteps echoing faintly as they fled the hall, leaving Midas alone with his hollow victory. The palace, once alive with revelry, now stood as a mausoleum of wealth, its corridors silent save for the king's ragged breaths. Desperation mounted as night deepened, storm winds howling through sacred groves beyond the walls. Midas stumbled toward the royal chambers, where his daughter, the light of his shadowed world, awaited. Young Marigold, with hair like spun sunlight and laughter that rivaled spring's first bloom, ran to him, arms outstretched in innocent joy. "Father!" she cried, colliding with his cursed embrace. In that heartbeat, flesh yielded to the inexorable gleam, her skin solidified, eyes froze in eternal surprise, a golden statue where a child once stood. Midas recoiled, his scream shattering the stillness, hands clawing at the air as if to reverse the divine decree. He cradled the lifeless form, tears tracing futile paths down his cheeks, each drop hardening before it could fall. The weight of his choice crashed upon him like the mountains encircling Phrygia, irreversible, unyielding. In the silent ruins of his making, the king confronted the truth. Gold devoured life itself, leaving only echoes in torchlit voids. Divine forces, once courted, now mocked from the storm-dark heights, their laughter woven into the thunder. Dawn fractured the storm-dark skies, painting the Phrygian palace in hues of reluctant gold. King Midas, hollow-eyed and gaunt, knelt before the Pactolus River, its waters murmuring secrets through sacred groves choked with mist. Echoing footsteps had carried him here through torchlit corridors now forsaken, each stride a penance for the avarice that birthed his ruin. Dionysus's voice had returned in the night's depths, a spectral command amid thunderous remorse. Plunge into the river's flow, and let it cleanse what fate has wrought. Desperation drove him onward, the weight of his daughter's frozen gaze propelling him to the churning current. He waded into the icy embrace, submersion complete as waves clawed at his cursed flesh. Gold leached from his skin like venom drawn from a wound, swirling downstream in luminous eddies that gilded the riverbed forevermore. Pebbles gleamed unnaturally, sands shifted to shimmering veins, eternal testimony to the divine reversal. Emerging on the far bank, Midas tested his hands on olive branches, on river stones, on the earth itself. Life persisted, no transmutation marred the fragile bloom of dawn. Yet victory soured in his throat, for the palace vaults brimmed with riches that mocked his survival, silent ruins echoing the void where joy once dwelt. Word spread through the kingdom like shadows lengthening at dusk, the golden king humbled, his touch relinquished by godly mercy. But mercy's price lingered in the air, thick as the incense of forgotten altars. Marigold remained a statue in the banquet hall, her form untouched by the river's grace, irrevocable loss carved in gleaming permanence. Midas wandered the corridors thereafter, a specter among treasures, haunted by the gods' veiled warning. Divine forces exacted their toll not in destruction alone, but in the slow erosion of the soul, where every glance at gold evoked the daughter's silenced laughter. In the myth's unyielding gaze, King Midas embodies the peril of unchecked desire, where a single flawed choice unleashes consequences that no river can fully wash away. Fate, woven by capricious gods, preys upon human weakness, the avarice that blinds one to life's true currency, the warmth of flesh, the sustenance of bread, the fleeting spark of familial bonds. Doubt in moderation's wisdom seals the doom, transforming abundance into isolation, prosperity into petrification. The Pactolus flows gilded to this day, its sands a perpetual reminder that some shadows cast by greed endure beyond reversal, lingering in the silent ruins of the ambitious heart. What price, then, for the touch that promised everything, yet devoured all? Long shadows stretch across Phrygia's timeless groves, where echoing footsteps fade into the storm. Thank you for journeying through these mythic depths. Subscribe for more tales that unsettle and endure.